spirits that speak in tongues no man can translate, spirits that ride the wind, settle in the bones, and whisper in the chambers of the soul. You will not see them walking the street. They do not wear masks. They do not hide in shrines. They live within, coiled deep inside the body, waiting for the right rhythm, the right smoke, the right song to rise. This is not madness. This is Zar. In the deserts of Sudan, in the mountains of Ethiopia, in the ancient cities of Egypt, and across the Horn of Africa, there exists a hidden world, a world where spirits are not cast out in fear, but invited in, where possession is not a curse, but a conversation, a negotiation, a healing. In the Zar tradition, women, especially women, enter trance not to lose themselves, but to find what is hidden inside them. They gather in candlelit rooms. Incense thickens the air. The drums begin, not fast, but slow, deliberate, like footsteps echoing through the unseen. The afflicted woman begins to move, her eyes distant, her voice no longer her own. But she is not alone. Around her are other women, other bodies, other spirits. Together they call the wind. They welcome it. They sing to it. Because what comes next may frighten the outside world, but here it is sacred. Zar is the spirit. Zar is the ritual. Zar is the entire world built around this truth, that healing is not only physical, that pain is not always explainable, that sometimes a name must be called, not from a book, but from the body, and that sometimes a spirit must speak before a woman can finally rest. This is not Hollywood. This is not myth. This is Africa's hidden medicine, older than colonizers, older than clinics, older than fear. It has been demonized, silenced, driven underground, but it never died. And now, in living rooms and shrines, in cities and villages, it spins again. You're about to enter a place where the walls between worlds grow thin, where memory moves through music, and where healing wears the face of possession. This is Zar, and the winds are speaking again. No one knows the exact moment Zar entered the body of the world. It was not written in scripture. It was not crowned by kings. It came like the wind it is named after, unseen, uninvited, but undeniable. What we do know is that Zar was born in Abyssinia, the ancient highlands of Ethiopia, where the spirits of land and sky have always been close. There, among the rugged cliffs and hidden caves, people whispered of forces that could not be ignored. Spirits that lived inside people, not outside them. The word Zar may come from the Amharic term for visitation, or from Arabic roots meaning to visit. And that is the essence of it. A Zar is a visitor. It enters the body, not to destroy it, but to speak through it. In early Ethiopia, the Zar was not a curse. It was a dialogue between the human and the spirit world. Those possessed were not cast out. They were listened to. Their spirits were identified, named, and appeased. It was an act of healing, not exorcism. From Ethiopia, the Zar tradition began to move, carried along ancient trade routes through marriage, war, and migration. It flowed northward into Sudan, where the rituals expanded and deepened, shaped by the unique cosmology of Nubian spirituality. Here, the Zar cult became a recognized part of everyday life, especially for women. In a world where patriarchy ruled the street, Zar ruled the soul. It gave voice to the voiceless, power to the powerless, and sanctuary to those the world refused to understand. In Egypt, the Zar arrived centuries ago, blending with Sufi mysticism, folk Islam, and African spirit traditions. It found a home in the hidden quarters of Cairo and Alexandria, among working-class women and rural communities. There, The rituals evolved, incorporating incense, drumming, trance dancing, and animal sacrifice. It became both feared and revered. The government tried to suppress it. Religious authorities called it haram, but it never stopped. It simply went underground, into kitchens and courtyards, where it continued to breathe. As it traveled, Zar adapted. It took on new forms in Yemen, Somalia, Iran, and across the Horn of Africa. In each place, the spirits changed names, the ceremonies shifted shape, but the core remained. A belief in spirit intrusion and the power of ritual to negotiate with the invisible. What makes Zar unique is its plurality. It is not one spirit, it is many. Some are ancient African ancestors. Others are foreign jinn, spirits of Ottoman soldiers, lost lovers, enslaved souls, or drowned traders. Some are male, some female, some kind, some violent. Each has its name, its story, its demands. And the job of the community is not to cast them out, but to learn who they are, what they want, and how to live with them. In many Zar houses, there is a sacred chest, filled with costumes, jewelry, musical instruments, and sacred items used to summon and honor specific spirits. When someone falls ill or behaves strangely, they are brought to the Zar leader, a healer, usually a woman, who diagnoses the spirit causing the affliction. A ritual is arranged. The spirit is called by name, and through music, incense, and possession, the truth is revealed. In a world that often rejects the unseen, Zar offers an alternative. It says, "We believe you, we see you, we hear the voices too." For many women, especially those suffering from unexplained illnesses, mental anguish, infertility, or grief, Zar becomes a place of refuge and release. In patriarchal cultures where they are told to be silent, Zar allows them to scream, cry, dance, collapse, and speak truths hidden by society. Possession becomes permission, trance becomes therapy, spirit becomes sanctuary, and yet, this sacred force has always been misunderstood. To outsiders, Zar looks chaotic. Possession looks like madness. The rituals appear un-Islamic, un-Christian, unclean, but those who know, know. Zar is not about rebellion. It is about balance. It is about healing what medicine cannot see and naming what religion refuses to name. As the Zar tradition moved through time, it never stopped evolving. New spirits were added, spirits of colonial trauma, spirits of slavery, spirits of war, spirits of globalization. Zar absorbs the memory of the world. It carries history not in books, but in bodies. Every possession is a story. Every dance, a negotiation. Every ceremony, a courtroom where the spirit is both judge and witness. Today, in cities across Africa and the Middle East, Zar remains alive, though often hidden. You may not see it advertised, but if you listen carefully in the night, you may hear the drums. You may smell the incense. And somewhere behind a closed door, a woman is speaking in a voice that is not hers, and no one dares stop her, because they know she is not alone. Zar has no scripture, no temple, no founder. It travels like wind and speaks through whomever it chooses. It is a faith, a therapy, a resistance, and a memory. It is not bound by walls or time. It is the spirit that traveled, and it never traveled empty-handed. The room is not large, but it feels infinite when the drums begin. There is no grand cathedral, no priestly robes, no shining altar. Instead, mats on the floor, candles flickering in shallow bowls, incense rising in twisting pillars, and faces, mostly women's, already shimmering with sweat. This is the Zar ceremony, and soon the spirit will enter. No one arrives casually. The afflicted comes with a body already marked, by dreams, by sickness, by voices no one else hears. She may have been sleepless for weeks. She may speak in tongues. She may suffer from chronic pain. No medicine helps, no prayer relieves. And so, her family brings her here, to the Tsar house, where science steps aside and spirit takes the seat of healer. At the center is the Sheikha, or Mama Tsar, a woman of deep wisdom, often older, always chosen. She is the medium, the mother of spirits, the conductor of what is about to unfold. Around her, others form a circle, sisters, daughters, other women who know the winds and how they blow through flesh. Some of them have their own spirits. Some are healed. Some are learning to carry the ones who enter without warning. The instruments are sacred. Drums carved from memory, tambourines shaken with intention, metal rings tapped in a rhythm that has never been written down. Each sound has a purpose. Each beat calls a name. The afflicted woman is brought into the center. She sits. She breathes. Mama Tsar approaches and rubs her skin with oil. She fans her with scented smoke, a mixture of frankincense, benzoin, myrrh, and herbs only the initiated can name. She whispers words in her ear, part prayer, part invocation, part question. The drumming intensifies. And then it begins. The woman trembles, her eyes glaze, her limbs begin to jerk. But no one restrains her, no one screams, no one stops the rhythm. Because this is not fear, this is arrival. The spirit has come. She may fall to the ground. She may begin to dance. She may speak in a voice that is not hers. Sometimes a man's voice, sometimes a child's, sometimes an ancient dialect no one living understands, but the Sheikha understands. She steps closer. She asks the spirit its name. Sometimes it answers, sometimes it refuses. And the negotiation begins. "Why are you here?" she asks. "What does she owe you? What offering will make you leave or stay in peace?" Because Tsar spirits are not exorcised. They are entertained, acknowledged, soothed. The ceremony is not meant to force them out, but to honor their needs, learn their story, and strike a bargain that will bring balance to the afflicted. Each spirit has its own song. When its rhythm is played, it becomes stronger, more expressive, more articulate. The Sheikha calls the musicians to adjust. The room shifts to match the energy of the spirit. The woman may dance for minutes or for hours. She may collapse, only to rise again with fire in her eyes. Others in the circle begin to respond, their own spirits waking, riding the same rhythm. Soon the entire room becomes a storm of memory and possession, layered in centuries of story and pain. And then, silence. The spirit is gone, or calm, or satisfied. The woman exhales. She may cry, or laugh, or rest. Mama Tsar wraps her in cloth, pours water over her head, whispers a blessing. She has passed through the veil and returned. She is not the same, and that is the point. After the trance, the offerings are given. Food for the spirit, bread, rice, kola nuts, sugar, incense. Sometimes an animal is sacrificed, a goat, a rooster, its blood given to seal the pact. These rituals are not superstition. They are transactions with the invisible. The spirit asked. The people answered. And now there is peace. In the days that follow, the woman may wear specific colors: red for a fiery spirit, white for a gentle one. She may avoid certain foods or tasks. She may build a small shrine in her home. Because once a spirit has entered, it must be respected, or it will return with anger. But more than healing the body, Tsar ceremonies heal the community. They allow people, especially women, to release emotions the world does not permit, to scream, weep, fall, and rise without shame. In that circle, trauma is not buried. It is danced. Pain is not denied. It is given rhythm. And spirit is not feared. It is honored. These ceremonies are acts of survival, of memory, of resistance. They defy every system that says women must be silent, that the invisible must be ignored, that healing must come from pills or priests alone. Zar says, the spirit knows, the rhythm heals, the body remembers, and when the drums stop, so does the pain, until it rises again and the winds return. Zar is not one voice. It is a gathering, a parliament of spirits, each with its own name, history, gender, temperament, and style. Some arrive quietly, like a whisper behind the ear. Others storm the body, loud and urgent, demanding attention like royalty arriving late to court. In Zar cosmology, possession is not general. It is precise. The spirit does not simply enter. It introduces itself, and once its name is known, the healing begins. There are hundreds of Zar spirits, some ancient, some new, some benevolent, others vengeful. But all of them have stories that echo through time. These are not demons. They are characters from the invisible archive, fragments of memory, history, and emotion that refuse to be forgotten. One of the most well-known spirits in Egypt is Sheikh Taha, a powerful male figure who speaks in Arabic, smokes heavily, and demands offerings of coffee, tobacco, and sometimes liquor. He arrives stern but not cruel, often acting as a spiritual enforcer who brings justice or protects the afflicted from other, more volatile spirits. When Sheikh Taha rides the body, the voice deepens, the posture stiffens, and a sense of authority fills the room. Then there is Sheikha Aisha, sometimes called Aisha Kandisha in the Maghreb, a seductive female spirit with roots in both African and Arab worlds. She is associated with beauty, desire, and danger. When Aisha possesses, the woman dances seductively, demands mirrors, perfumes, and silver jewelry. She is both feared and respected, a spirit of divine femininity and untamed energy. Some say she was once a goddess, others a forgotten queen, but all agree she cannot be ignored. In Sudan, one finds spirits like Bid el-Ri, daughter of the wind, a powerful female presence linked to storms, infertility, and suppressed rage. She comes for women who have held pain too long. When she dances, it is wild, chaotic, like wind tearing through dry grass. And when she speaks, it is often to demand release, not just from the body, but from history. There are foreign spirits too, remnants of war, slavery, colonialism. Spirits who speak Turkish, Portuguese, English, or French. Spirits who arrived on ships, with soldiers, with traders. They are often restless, disoriented, confused. Their arrival speaks to the wounds of empire. When these spirits possess, the afflicted may speak in a strange language, mimic foreign behavior, or request unusual food and drink. These are the ghosts of contact and conquest, absorbed into the Zar pantheon because no pain is ever wasted. Every history becomes spirit. There are also animal spirits, hyenas, snakes, lions, each bringing their own rhythm and ritual. A snake spirit may demand slithering movement, silence, and offerings of milk or eggs. A lion spirit roars through the chest, forcing the possessed to crouch, growl, or charge. Each creature embodies something within the person: fear, power, trauma, hidden strength. Some spirits are peaceful and nurturing. Others are chaotic and volatile. But even the most difficult ones are not cast out. In Zar, there is no exorcism, only negotiation. The goal is not to defeat the spirit, but to live in balance with it, to understand its nature, its history, its pain. Because every spirit carries a reason for being there. The Sheikha, or leader of the Zar circle, knows these spirits like family. She can identify them by movement, by scent, by the tone of a scream or the shape of a collapse. She may call out, This is not Fatima, this is Balo. And the drums will shift to match the spirit's rhythm. She may say, Sheikh Omar is angry, and the people will fetch his tobacco, his drink, his song. Because the ritual is not random, it is a performance of recognition. When spirits are honored correctly, they may become allies. They protect the person, warn of danger, offer insight through dreams. Some people live with their spirits peacefully for decades, visiting the Tsar circle only when the balance begins to fray. Others need regular ceremonies to remain whole. And in all cases, the spirit is not viewed as a curse, but as a part of the self that must be respected. Tsar allows people to name what society ignores. Depression becomes a spirit. Anxiety becomes a wind. Trauma becomes a voice. And by naming these forces, by bringing them into community, the person is no longer alone. They are seen. They are heard. They are healed. Not by medicine, but by memory and rhythm. In modern times, some practitioners have added new spirits, representing modern struggles. Electricity, for anxiety and overstimulation. Plastic, for environmental disconnection. Money, for economic pressure. These spirits are treated with the same seriousness as the old ones, because the human soul still suffers, even if the names have changed. And so, the pantheon expands. Not in temples, but in living rooms. Not in statues, but in bodies. Not in texts, but in trance. There are places in this world where women are told to be silent, where pain must be hidden, and grief must wear a smile. Where a woman's body is not her own, and her soul is never asked what it remembers. But Tsar is not one of those places. In the Tsar ceremony, the woman is not a victim. She is the vessel, the voice, and the fire. She does not sit behind the curtain. She becomes the curtain, shaking between this world and the next. In a society that often silences her, Tsar makes her roar. In a world that demands stillness, Tsar teaches her to dance until the spirit tells the truth. Across Ethiopia, Sudan, and Egypt, the Tsar cult has become not only a space of healing, but a sisterhood of power. It is led almost entirely by women. Women who carry generations of knowledge, women who guide the possessed, speak to the spirits, and interpret the unsaid. Women who, in the sacred Tsar house, are called not by their given names, but by the spirits who walk with them. The Sheikha, or Mama Tsar, is the high priestess of this realm. She is not elected. She is chosen by spirit, by suffering, by vision. Often, she was once afflicted herself, driven to the edge of madness until the spirit taught her how to return. Now, she leads others through that same fire. She knows every drumbeat, every offering, every herb that calms or awakens the unseen. The Sheikha is not submissive. She does not seek approval. In the Tsar house, her word is final. When the spirit speaks through her, even the elders fall silent. Because she is not just a woman, she is a doorway, and when she sings, the ancestors lean in. In this sacred space, women are allowed to scream what cannot be said at home. They can collapse, rage, cry, curse. They can tell the story of their suffering, not in words, but in movement. Possession becomes protest, trance becomes testimony. Tsar becomes a holy defiance wrapped in dance. But it is not chaos, it is ritualized liberation. Every spirit that rides is known, every woman is held. The sisterhood surrounds her, not with judgment, but with rhythm. They sing to the spirit, they fan the fire, they offer sugar, perfume, rice, coins. They remind her, you are not mad, you are not broken, you are becoming. Tsar offers something rare, communal healing without shame. In patriarchal societies where women are often excluded from spiritual leadership, Tsar reverses the roles. Here, women are the medium, the message, and the medicine. Men may be present, but they do not lead. They watch, they learn, they assist. The power belongs to the ones whose bodies carry the spirits, and more often than not, those bodies are women's. In Egypt, where Tsar has long been marginalized by both the state and Islamic authorities, it survives underground, sustained by women who refuse to let the spirit die. In poor neighborhoods and rural towns, the Tsar circle becomes more than ritual. It becomes economy, therapy, and home. Women support each other financially, care for one another's children, offer food and protection. It is a matriarchal microcosm inside a world that often does not see them. For some, Tsar becomes identity. Women return to the Tsar house regularly, not only when afflicted, but to maintain spiritual balance. They form lifelong bonds with their spirits, offering them food, gifts, and songs. Over time, they learn their spirit's voice so well, they can feel its moods before it even enters. It is not possession. It is partnership. This relationship grants a kind of empowerment that religion and politics rarely offer. A woman who is ignored in her home becomes a conduit of the divine in the Tsar house. Her visions are respected. Her body is sacred. Her words, especially when spirit-filled, carry the weight of prophecy. And so, the Tsar sisterhood becomes a force of cultural memory. It preserves songs, languages, rituals, and beliefs passed down from grandmothers who never went to school, but knew how to call the wind. In Tsar, there are no texts. Everything is oral, rhythmic, embodied. The wisdom is not in books. It is in the hips, the hands, the hums between drumming sessions. It is in the silence before the scream. This is why governments fear it, why scholars dismiss it, why some religious authorities try to crush it. Because Tsar cannot be controlled. It answers to no law but the one written in trance. It speaks a language too old to translate, and it gives power to those who were never supposed to have it. And yet, the sisterhood continues. It has survived slavery, colonization, and clerical condemnation. It has survived poverty, migration, and war. It will survive the internet too, because wherever women gather in pain, wherever the drum speaks the truth, wherever the wind moves strange through the body, the Tsar will return. And in its smoke-filled, spirit-soaked embrace, another woman will rise, not empty, but full. Full of story, full of spirit, full of power the world forgot she had. The spirits still knock, but the doors are harder now, the walls taller, the rooms brighter with electric light. In the modern world, Tsar faces an enemy more complex than colonial swords or religious condemnation. It faces amnesia, wrapped in medicine, modernity, and shame. In Egypt, Tsar ceremonies were once common in neighborhoods from Cairo to Aswan. Now they are whispered about, hidden behind apartment curtains, held in silence for fear of arrest or ridicule. The government, pushed by both religious conservatives and nationalist image makers, has labeled Tsar as superstition, a backward relic, a practice unworthy of a modern nation. And so, Tsar has been pushed underground, where the drum still plays, but with muffled hands. Hospitals call the spirits psychosis. Diagnoses are written in Latin. The afflicted are prescribed pills instead of music, sedation instead of ceremony. In Sudan, Ethiopia, and beyond, women once held in respect for carrying spirit are now mocked, dismissed, or medicated. And while there are real cases of mental illness that require care, the Tsar sisterhood argues, Not every scream is madness. Some screams are messages. The conflict is not new. For over a century, Western doctors have peered into Tsar ceremonies with clinical detachment, labeling them hysterical, hallucinatory, or culturally bound syndromes. But what they fail to see is that Tsar is not only about the possessed, it is about the circle, the community, the restoration of balance through rhythm, ritual, and naming. Science demands proof, but Tsar speaks in riddles. Medicine wants symptoms. Tsar wants stories. The world now favors evidence, but Tsar was never about proof. It is about presence. Religion, too, has waged war against it. In many Muslim-majority nations, Tsar is viewed as shirk, idolatry. Clerics condemn it as un-Islamic, blasphemous, haram. In churches, the drumming of Tsar is called the dance of demons. And so, for many, Tsar must be practiced in the shadows, even though it may be the only thing that works. But despite every wall, Tsar survives. In refugee communities, Tsar is remembered by grandmothers who still carry incense and prayer beads in their luggage. In diaspora homes across Europe and North America, women recreate Tsar in small circles, whispering the old chants through new tongues. They may be citizens of a modern world, but their spirits are still ancient, and the spirit still demands to be named. Some women report dreams of old drums calling them, of spirits asking to be fed, of memories that do not belong to them rising from the body like smoke. These are not delusions, they are echoes. Tsar adapts. It hides, but it does not die. In some regions, it has fused with psychology. Therapists in Ethiopia have begun working with traditional healers, using Tsar ceremonies as a form of community-based trauma care. Researchers are beginning to understand that healing is not always white walls and cold stethoscopes. Sometimes it is music. Sometimes it is dance. Sometimes it is possession that brings clarity. Documentaries have been made, books have been written, but none capture the full mystery, because Tsar is not a thing to be studied. It is a thing to be entered, to be felt, to be lived. And so the struggle continues, between old and new, between trance and treatment, between shame and memory. Some daughters reject Tsar. Others return, weeping, begging to understand the dreams they cannot explain. And Tsar waits for them, drum in hand, incense lit, ready to speak again. It is not nostalgia. It is survival. Because Tsar gives what nothing else does, a space for pain to move. A space for women to be more than mothers or wives. A space where the unseen is not feared, but fed. In a world of wires and diagnoses, there must still be places where the spirit can dance. And Tsar remains that place. The drum falls silent. The incense curls into nothing. The woman sits still, no longer shaking. The floor cools beneath her. The circle softens. But in that stillness, something remains. The spirit is not gone. It is calm. It is heard. It is home. Because Tsar is not about casting out. It is about calling in the forgotten names, the hidden wounds, the buried grief. It is about taking the thing the world calls madness and giving it a throne. It is about letting the unseen speak through the body so that the soul may breathe again. Tsar teaches us that healing is not clean. It is not polite. It does not whisper. Healing screams. Healing spins. Healing shakes and dances and weeps through hands that never learned how to be still. Tsar says, let it move. Let it speak. Let the thing you were told to hide become holy. And maybe that is the deepest truth, that the thing we fear, the thing we silence, the thing we drug or shame or exile, that thing is the beginning of healing, not its enemy. The spirit is not always foreign. Sometimes the spirit is your trauma. your silence, your hunger, your history. And when Zar brings it forward, gives it a name, a dance, a place at the table, it stops being a curse. It becomes your companion. In Zar, healing is not solitary. It is done in the circle. You do not scream alone. You do not shake alone. You do not remember alone. You are held. You are sung to. You are witnessed. And that is what so many have forgotten, the power of being seen, of having your pain echoed by the drum, of having your grief translated into rhythm, of having the wind that swirls inside you finally recognized by a name. This is what the ancestors knew. This is what the grandmothers carried. And this is what survives, beneath the floorboards, behind the curtains, within the diaspora. Zar may be pushed down, but it never dies, because the body still remembers, and the wind still calls. So, to the woman who trembles, to the man who dreams of languages he's never spoken, to the child who hears rhythm in silence, know this: the spirit is not your enemy. It is your echo, and Zar is the answer that says, yes, I hear it too. The world may never understand, but you do, because you've seen it, you've felt it, you've danced with a thing no one else could name. And now, the spirit is still. The healing has begun. And Zar, once again, has done what no one else could.